Wow. You could not hear the video. That's interesting. Okay, so it's we're starting right now. Please can you confirm you can hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Oh, thank you, Doctor. All right, so we're starting right now. We have people joining us already. This is such a, it's a day I've always longed for. I've looked forward to this day to just see it come true. So a lot of planning has gone into it, communicating with the school, communicating with TFF, also communicating with people that will be at the events. And I'm really so excited to have the Dean in our midst joining us today. It's such a real privilege. You know, of course, Dean, I was privileged to have Dean teach me in my first year in school. And of course, he's such a man that knows his onions, like he's vast in his field and he knows what exactly he's doing, because by the time you ask him questions, you see him supplying accurate answers to them. So it's such a privilege to have him join us today. I know he's very busy. I know his busy schedule, but out of his busy schedule, he has chosen to come to just share one or few things in the opening charge. So I'll be inviting Dr. Laszlo STÜNDL as he takes us in the opening section.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you for the opportunity for me to make some short notes on the conference. I was watching the program that you are planning for today, and it seems that you are focusing on precision technologies, on high-tech agriculture and food issues. For this reason, I just made a very brief presentation, a couple of slides. If I may share it with you, is it okay if I'm just giving a 5 minutes presentation about us?
Yeah, that's perfect, Professor.
Good. Okay. Is it visible and okay?
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay, so just to give you some hints or some information about our faculty, about our task. As you see, the name of the faculty is Agriculture, Food and Environmental Management. So these three basic areas are summarizing or introducing our main activities. Nowadays, we have some directives, action plans, some keywords that we are trying to arrange our activities around. One is the circular bioeconomy. So our faculty is dealing with the education and research along the food chain from the soil through the farm to the fork, and to also detailing the environmental aspects. The Green Deal, that's under European Union directive, to do it as sustainable and as climate neutral as possible. So that's also our intention, to organize the education and research and to help our farmers, our population, to turn their lives and their activities as green, as sustainable as possible. The farm to fork is a quite a well-known incentive or idea. So we try to follow each and every step along the food chain to provide information and convince our customers or our partners, our farmers, it's worth to give information about the activities to earn the confidence of the farmers, confidence of the customers or consumers. And One Health is which is summarizing whole, that it's not just zoonosis, not just pandemics as nowadays, but it will be the next 10-15 years a huge challenge to provide healthy food and to prevent any disease outbreak, any problem from the food production or food processing and the primary agricultural production. So all these buzzwords that we are trying to organize our activities, we have this kind of mission that we try to provide healthy food and maintain the health of our population, and to do it to maintain the healthy environment. So health, 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 and sustainability all around our activities. So we are, as we design them ourselves, are responsible in this university for the food processing, food production, food processing, and also the environmental sustainability of these activities. Just a couple of areas that we are dealing with: precision agriculture, site-specific farming, horticulture, integrated with protection technologies, animal husbandry, animal nutrition, down to the molecular biology, stress, and also microbiome of the farm animals, food processing, food design, and health promoting foodstuffs. So functional food is also in our scope. Integration of agri-environmental schemes, so nature conservation, biodiversity enhancement, and these integrated technologies. And the focus is now on the climate change. In our moderate or in our continental climate, we also are facing with some problems with this issue. So for these, I don't know how much you know about our agriculture faculty. We have within the campus greenhouses, aquaculture, aquaponics, food processing. In the vicinity of Debrecen, we have animal farm like 5 kilometers from here. We have a horticulture from, it's like 10 kilometers, and also an herbal farm. So everything around the city of Debrecen and now around us is ready for the students and for staff and for research. Thank you. That was my just short presentation. So I'm just trying to underline that how determined we are towards sustainability, precision farming, and food safety and food security. And that's why I'm very glad that you, foreign students, are organizing such events and share your thoughts about these kind of modern things. And I'm quite enthusiastic about this topic. So thank you very much. And I wish you a very successful and fruitful conference for today.
Wow, thank you so much, Professor. We are really grateful. Thank you for your time. We appreciate the presentation. That was really awesome. So, Wale, you're going to take us up now. Your mic is muted.
Okay, thank you so much, Professor. Really appreciate. So moving on to the next item on the agenda. The Dean is presently not available. The Dean of School of Agriculture.
Oh, he has presented already. He just presented.
Okay, wow. Thank you, sir. So our first speaker, Ms. Eva Fernández Rodríguez. I want to quickly introduce her. She is a radio navigation engineer at the Advanced User Segment Systems Division at GMV Aerospace and Defense. She is also the project manager of awarded top place in the Farming by Satellite Prize 2020, commented by European Gnss Agency and the European Environment Agency. Academic background is in telecommunications engineering at the University of Vigo, Spain, as well as a double master's degree in communication systems and network at the Polytechnic University of Valencia, Spain, and Technisch Hochschule corn germany. Past professional experience includes position as a project manager at Sumares, Domi, SL, and telematic test engineer in Automotive Technology Center of Galicia. Also, she had an internship at the commercial user segment and navigation system validation session at ESA Tech. She is actively participating in Gnss related competition, such as the ongoing Rapid Prototype Development RPD Challenge promoted by the Multi-GNSS Asia program and the Google Smartphone Decimeter Competition 2021. Furthermore, she was engaged in different projects such as Auto App, a project with the aim of teaching gardening using technology that was awarded a place in the Think Big program for innovation and entrepreneurship development, launched by Telefonica Foundation and Hyperloop UPV Team 2018 prototype. Included in the top 10 prototypes at SpaceX Hyperloop Code Competition 3 in Los Angeles in 2018. Ms. Fernandez also balanced her engineering activities with her musical background. She holds a bachelor degree of music and she has experience as a saxophone teacher. Wow, I'm also a saxophonist for almost 8 years. So join me in welcoming Ms. Eva Fernández Rodríguez. You're welcome, ma'am.
Thank you for the presentation.
Welcome.
Well, hello all. I hope you can hear me well. I guess.
Yeah, perfectly, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for the introduction and thank you for inviting me to this event. I'm going to share my screen. So hopefully you can see it. Please let me know when you can see my screen.
Yeah, perfect, we can see your screen.
Yes, we can see.
Okay, great. So my presentation today is going to be focused on GNSS. So I'm going to explain a bit the technology of GNSS for you to understand the basis of it. And also I'm going to give an example of a project that uses a GNSS as well as some other space technologies for precision aquaculture. So I had here a bit of my background, but maybe I will skip this very fast because, well, in the introduction you already mentioned, yes, to highlight as a space-related background specific, the internship at the European Space Agency, where I was working in one of the divisions that are focusing on the user segment of Galileo that relates with the receivers that use Galileo as main constellation for GNSS. And well, also I'm a radio navigator and engineer at GMV nowadays. So what I'm doing at GMV is to develop Galileo and GPS receivers. And I'm the project manager of AIOFAR, that is, well, that comes from artificial intelligence for ocean farming. And it's a project I'm going to explain more in the second part of this presentation. And what we do is to improve the performance of ocean farms by using space technology. So the index of this presentation is going to be divided in two big blocks. In the first one, I'm going to give you the basic concepts of GNSS for you to understand this technology. And then in the second part, I'm going to talk about our project AIOFAR. So let's start with the introduction to GNSS. So what is GNSS? So the acronym GNSS comes from Global Navigation Satellite System. I really like the image you can see in this slide because here you can see the Earth that is surrounded by artificial satellites in different orbits and planes. That these satellites, each one of them is transmitting radio frequency signals that give us the possibility of having services of positioning, that is the normal thing we think about GNSS, but also of temporal synchronization. I hope that during this presentation you can understand how and why time precision is very important in GNSS, and why, because of that, we can use well, this time precision we need for the technology, also for providing some services related to this time precision. So here you can see in this slide the four main global navigation systems we have nowadays. Probably when you normally think of GNSS, you think only on GPS, but GPS is only one of the options we have nowadays. It's the American option, and it's the most known because it was the first one that was deployed. But as you can see, we can divide the different systems we have in terms of nationality. You have we have the American GPS, the Russian GLONASS, the Chinese Beidou, and the European Galileo. So if we start with GPS, the American, it was deployed in 1994, and it has constellations of 31 satellites. These satellites are situated in an altitude from the Earth of 20 kilometers or 20,000 kilometers, and they need a period of the revolution, which means they need, for a complete rotation around the Earth, 11 hours and 58 minutes. So as you can see here, it's almost half a day, which is quite important because, well, it's I think we had a problem, right?
Yeah, you can share your screen again.
Okay, where did you? I was talking about the different
Yeah, you were
DNSs.
talking about different GPSs.
Okay, hopefully now it's fine. So you can see again my screen.
Yeah, we can see now.
Okay, I will keep this just to be sure that we are all here and to realize. So I hope I was talking about the Russian one, maybe, the GLONASS. So yeah, we have a period of revolution that is slightly smaller than the one of GPS because of their lower altitude. Then we have the Chinese Beidou. Here I want to mention that Beidou not only has a global system of positioning, but it has also a regional one. What this means is that Beidou has two options. One of them is to provide positioning of all the Earth, and the other one is to provide positioning only to a specific geographic positions. And as it is from China, it's only for China. They do this by using different orbits. As you can see here in this slide, I'm including the reference to MEO. This is a specific range of orbits. So the orbits are classified in different ranges depending on how far away they are from the Earth. The orbits that are situated the closest to the Earth are called LEO, or low Earth orbits. The ones that are a bit less close to the Earth are MEO, that are the ones that we are interested in this kind of services, global navigation satellite systems that are MEO, so medium Earth orbit. And the ones that are the farthest away from the Earth, but still orbiting the Earth, are GEO, so geosynchronous Earth observation orbits. The interesting feature that have the ranges of the GEO orbits is that the satellites that are orbiting in GEO orbits can illuminate all the time the same part of the Earth. So this is particularly interesting in the cases of communication satellites, where we could be given some satellite TV broadcast service, for example, but we want to give this service all the time for the same country. So this is something very interesting. And also it can be very interesting, as in this case with Beidou, the regional service of positioning, because they can focus all their satellites for GNSS to China. And they are all the time focusing, illuminating China. So they only have service for this specific part of the Earth. So coming back to the global navigation service that Beidou has also, it was deployed in 2012, and the constellation has 27 satellites that, as you can see here, they are a bit higher in altitude than the GPS, having it as the reference. And because of that, they need more time for a complete rotation around the Earth. And finally, we have the European one, the Galileo, that was deployed in 2016 and has more satellites, 30 satellites per constellation. And the Galileo satellites are the ones that are the farthest away from the Earth, so 23 kilometers. And they need more time of, the period of revolution is higher. Okay, so now I'm going to explain how GNSS estimates the position. And for this, I'm going to start by two-dimensional example for you to understand a bit better when we pass to explain the real example with satellites. So imagine that we are in a boat and we are surrounded by fog and we are close to the coast. So it's quite dangerous because we could crash on the coast if we are not sure about our position. So we need somehow to know where we are. We can use for this the system of foghorns. So assuming we know exactly the time, the moment when a foghorn number 1 starts sending a sound, we can start counting the time until we can hear it in the boat. So we would have the difference between the time the foghorn number 1 starts sending the sound and the time when we actually hear the noise. As we know that the noise is being propagated with the propagation velocity of the sound, we can calculate directly the distance by the equation velocity equal to distance by the time. And we can draw this first circle you can see here. For the moment, we only have a circle, but we can do exactly the same with the foghorn number 2, where we are assuming again that we know the exact time where when the foghorn number 2 starts sending its noise, and we count again the time, and we then can draw the circle, the second circle. And if we want to be sure where we are, we want to have a point, we can do exactly the same with the foghorn number 3. So as you can see, we know that our boat is in the point A. So this is exactly what we do when we want to know how far away a storm is from us when we count the time between the lightning and the thunder. So we have exactly the same procedure because we use also the velocity propagation of the noise. So having this into account, we can now pass to the scheme we have with the satellites, the GNSS satellites. So instead of having foghorns, what we have are satellites that are, instead of transmit noise, they send radio frequency signals. So we have to change the propagation velocity of the sound by the velocity propagation of the light. But we also know this velocity very well. So what we need is to have, for knowing the position of a receiver, the X, Y, and Z components of the position of the receiver, we need to have 3 measurements from the 3 satellites, as we had exactly with the circles we had with the foghorns. But in this case, we have spheres instead. However, in this scheme with GNSS, as you probably have noticed about what I said, it's very important the time precision, because we are all the time measuring the difference in time between the transmitter, that is the satellite, and the receiver. And the thing is that in a real world, never happens that you have exactly the same time between 2 parts. So we are not going, we have to assume that we don't have the same counting of time in the satellite and in the receiver. And that's why we need to introduce a 4th unknown in our system of equations. I'm going to try to show you this. So what we have here is the unknowns of the receiver, where the receiver is, the X, Y, Z, but also the time uncertainty. So we have 4 unknowns. So we need at least, as a minimum, 4 measurements. And what this means is that if we want to use GNSS for positioning ourselves, we have to have direct view of at least 4 satellites. So if we don't have 4 satellites in view directly over our Earth, over our heads, we cannot have positioning. So this is one of the very important concepts in GNSS. We need at least 4 satellites. And here you can see one of the most important equations in GNSS, and it's very related to what I was talking about until the moment. So what we have here is the equation of pseudo-range that wants to represent exactly what we were seeing, the geometric distance between the satellite and the receiver, but having into account what happens between while this signal is traveling from the satellite to the receiver. And as you can imagine, we have a lot of effects to have into account because a lot of things can happen in this time of travel. So this equation has into account directly the geometric distance, that it was what we were seeing, also the time offset that is related to this difference in counting between the satellite and the receiver. So we have that into account here too. We need a correction due to the relativistic effect because of the altitude of the satellite. And also we have to have into account that the signal is going through the atmosphere. So there are 2 layers that are especially important here. One of them is the troposphere. That is important, but we can model is, we have some models that can provide very accurate corrections for this. So it doesn't include a lot of error. However, we have to be very careful with the ionosphere. The ionosphere, as you know, is a layer that contains ions that are charged with the solar activity. And the solar activity is very variable. In fact, the sun has cycles of 11 years, but even without within a year, you can have a lot of variation in the solar activity. So we don't really have the possibility of predict very well what happens with the ionosphere, and it can give us a lot of error in our equation of pseudo range. So we have to be quite careful with this layer of the atmosphere. Then we have the effect of multipath. Multipath is this effect we can have when we don't have the direct ray coming from the satellite to the receiver, but we have a signal that is crashing on the surface of an element, for example, a building, and then goes to a receiver. And if you remember, what we were doing all the time is to measure the difference in time since the signal goes from the receiver or from the satellite to the receiver. And if the signal comes here and crashes here and then goes to this receiver, it needs more time to get the receiver. So we are going to have a calculation that is not accurate at all. And finally, we need also, like in any device that is electronic, we need to include the receiver noise correction. So I hope it was more or less clear, these concepts of GNSS. And I'm going to explain now how we use GNSS in our project in AIFR, Artificial Intelligence for Ocean Farming, and also how we use other space technology. So the objective of our project is to improve ocean farming performance. And what we do is to monitor and analyze the hazards that ocean farms can have, such as harmful algal blooms, ocean acidification, strong weather condition, pollution, and all these kind of hazards you can imagine in an ocean farm. And also we use the analysis of feasibility to have into account in the new farms that are being set up, the species that are more relevant for them to have into account in a specific area. So as you can imagine, depending, as with agriculture, it depends where you are. So you are going to have a better climate for a specific crop, or in these cases, a better well, environment for a specific species for growing there. So we have into account also the feasibility in this case. And how we achieve this? So we use several input sources, data parameters and images from Copernicus program that I'm going to explain later about this program of the European agency. Positioning information from GNSS satellites, of course, in situ data from deployed IoT devices that will be in the directly on the ocean farms, and feasibility databases from specialized organizations. And all these input data that we are gathering are being processed by artificial intelligence techniques and other processing techniques. So we are trying to squeeze this information and try to get all the, well, the relevant data we can have from there in order to achieve our objective, that is improving the performance ocean farms have at the moment. So I wanted to explain you a bit of the origin of AIOFR. So Elise, Chana, Zara Okba, and myself, Eva Fernández Rodríguez, met for the Farming by Satellite Prize 2020. And well, we came with our idea and developed it. And we were awarded the 3rd place. Just to mention that this Farming by Satellite Prize is held by the European GNSS Agency, the European Environment Agency, and the European Commission. And what they do is to try to encourage sustainable projects that use space technology for improving agriculture and aquaculture. So as we had this, well, we developed this idea and we decided that we wanted to continue with the project and take it to the next level. So this is where we are at the moment. Just to mention a bit more about the space connection of our project with the GNSS and Copernicus program, well, if you remember, we had IoT devices that were going to be deployed at the ocean farms. So we need very precise positioning for 2 things mainly. One of them is because we are going to have sensors on the IoT devices to measure what is happening in the ocean farm. And we want this information to be very accurate in position because we want to combine the in situ data with the information we can gather from other sources. And the second reason is because we need this information to be broadcast on the internet. So we need to reach the satellite, the communication satellites, and we need to know exactly where we are and where the satellites are in order to be able to broadcast this information. Also, talking about our relation with GNSS, we are researching on how to use GNSS refractometry for sea level estimation. In fact, we have been accepted for participating in the ION GNSS Plus conference this year, with an idea of our research about these GNSS possibilities. And then another source of information that is very important in our project is the Copernicus program. The Copernicus program is the European program that is monitoring a lot of aspects of the Earth. So they are taking information by images, by taking photos to the Earth and giving some data parameters. This is very important for both agriculture, aquaculture, forestry, so all the kind of activities you can imagine that need some information from, well, that can be gathered from these satellites. So it's a lot of information. In fact, they can use this information that is public. So the Copernicus program includes constellations of satellites that are called sentinels, and the different sentinels are specialized in specific parameters. So there are sentinels that are specialized on land parameters, and some other sentinels that are specialized on ocean parameters. So in our project, we are especially interested in the second ones, but just for you to know that there are a lot of information about the land. So in our case, we use data parameters such as chlorophyll and sea surface temperature that comes from Copernicus And this allows us to decide, for example, if the ocean farm is having harmful algal bloom event or not, because these are two parameters that are very relevant in this kind of events. And also we use images from Copernicus because for the same example of harmful algal blooms, we can detect the color of the ocean in that region. And I don't know how familiarized you are with harmful algal blooms, but one of the characteristics they have is that the color of the ocean changes because of the bacteria that is there. So this is very relevant for our project too. And I wanted to share with you the next steps that we have in our project. One of them, well, for this year, one of them is the participation in the ION GNSS Plus conference, as I mentioned, where we are going to show the results for our study about the GNSS reflectometry. We also have a special session in the International Astronautical Congress in Dubai, where we are going to demonstrate our prototype using, well, is a demonstration of our idea of the concept of all the project. And also we want to apply to the Copernicus Masters Competition 2021. So, you know, we have a lot of interesting milestones, but we need a lot of help for all these milestones we want to achieve. So I didn't want to miss the opportunity to ask you if you would be interested, or if there are some people that are listening to this presentation that could be interested in any kind of these technologies I was talking about. So in case you are motivated with this kind of topics and you have some experience or knowledge, please don't hesitate in contact us. We have a form where you can explain us a bit about yourself, and you can contact. And please, we would be super, super happy about these contacts. So thank you very much. And please, the moment where the questions come, don't hesitate. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Eva. I've gotten a lot. IoT devices, application of IoT and precision farming, use of sensors, use of sentiment. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Moving on to the next session now. I want to introduce the second speaker. Second speaker, Mark Noka, third generation farmer operating 700 acres regenerative agricultural business in northern Poland on a mission of transitioning agriculture from convention to regenerative, with farmers at the center, at the pace and scale required to unleash the world's greatest carbon capture and storage pool, healthy and living agricultural soil. He had several various degrees and certification at different universities, namely Hot International Business School, ESCP Europe Business School, the University of Oxford, the University of Edinburgh, Columbia University, and Middlesex University, London. Building on its background, global experiences, and networks, as well as commitment to regenerative agriculture, he, together with his brother Paweł, set up European Carbon Farmers, a business promoting carbon farming practices in Poland and developing agricultural carbon payment mechanisms. He is actively involved in the work of UNFCCC COP26 Climate Champions. He is a regenerative agriculture fellow in the economy of Francisco Agriculture and Justice Village. He is It co-facilitates work of the startup stream focused on developing network of regenerative demo farms, as well as EIT Food, where he managed regenerative agriculture program in Poland. Building on his commitment to the African continent and agriculture, he is a deputy director-in-chief of Invest Africa, the key source of information on Africa and Poland from a business perspective. And he was the incubation manager at Agritech Hub, the first ever VC fund focused on agricultural investment in Poland and the wider CEE region. He is dedicated to supporting the development of the two most pivotal sectors of the economy globally, agriculture and energy, with a particular focus on African projects, from contributing to the development of a 700-acre farmer-owned regenerative agricultural operation located in northern Poland, through working with 130,000 smallholder Indian farmers as a consultant with beauty to help investors deploy capital in agricultural projects. So join me in welcoming Mr. Matusz. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you, sir. And thank you everyone for being here. I feel super sorry for you reading out this long introduction. I'm sorry about that. And very briefly, like, you know, I am a farmer, and this is how I will be speaking today, or like this is the ultimate perspective that I am speaking from. I don't have a slide deck prepared for today because, as I understand, the target audience that is not only listening to us, but like very importantly soon will be engaging in a Q&A, and that's really the core of this event, is here to like think critically with us about the future of work and the work of the future, in particular in the agricultural space. And we as the panelists are here to simply kick off this engagement and this thought process, which hopefully will last much longer than only the session today. So that's how I am approaching it, and I have 5 major points on my agenda, so that when I say, hey, now we are in point number 2, you know, you can still grab a coffee, and when I'm saying, hey, we are at point number 5, like, you know, maybe there will be an opportunity to ask questions soon after that, or to listen to Femi after me, I guess. So point number 1 is thank you. Thank you for organizing this event. Thank you for all of you for being here, both the organizers in any capacity and shape, and to you, the participants. And I am equally delighted to be here because the question on the future of work and the work of the future in the agricultural space is a very dear to my heart. And I am afraid I don't have full answers to those questions. And at point 3 and 4, I will be like exploring where are we right now, or where possibly we could be going with those questions. But like I want to say at the very beginning, I don't have a definitive answers or a set of definitive answers to this very, very difficult, like central and complex question. So thank you is my starting point. Point number 2 is who am I and why am I here? I'm here because I am Food for Thought ambassador. So if you don't know Food for Thought, you definitely have to look them up. I saw some links being shared in the chat already to that organization. So please do look them up, do look us up. And please take part in the opportunities that we are bringing to you, in particular the Food for Thought Challenge, which is open till, if I am correct with my numbers, till the 28th of May this year, and many others that the team is bringing to you. So that's the link precisely. And I am an ambassador and member at or part of Food for Thought, because as every other ambassador and as this community, we do care, or I do care about the food and agricultural systems, and I want them to be transitioning towards a better dimension. And we'll talk in point number 4 what better means. So very briefly, I am a farmer on top of being the ambassador, or like not thanks to being the ambassador, but like I am a farmer who's actively involved in the family business, which is a farm of 700 hectares in northern Poland. And building on that, I am on a mission of putting farmers like us in the center of climate change mitigation and adaptation efforts in a profitable way for those farmers. That's like a reductionist way of saying what I am about. More comprehensive way of saying what I am about is to say I am about transitioning agriculture from conventional to regenerative in once again a way that is profitable for the farmer, or with farmer at the center. And I am super privileged to be living that mission on like numerous levels, from local, which is the family farm, and the work of European carbon farmers that we are doing with the actual farmers, through to the European level, once again European carbon farmers with the policy work we are making, my work with the European Commission in promoting regenerative agriculture across Europe, in particular in Poland, Spain and Italy with my colleagues. And finally, the global level, which is working with COP26, the Conference of the Parties of the United Nations, the famous climate conference, the one, or like, you know, the follow-up to the one at which the Paris Agreement has been signed, which I'm sure you have heard about, and also I am heavily involved with the UN Food Systems Summit, which is a global initiative of the UN to basically spark conversations about where are we with food systems right now, and where do we want those systems to go. So I can already invite you to the dialogue that we are organizing once again together with the Food for Thought on the 20th of May on that very topic, like what's the nature of entrepreneurship in the Future of Food Systems Summit. Sorry, in the future of food systems. That's me, and that's my background. Point number 3, where are we? We are in pretty interesting situation, especially in the context of the future of work and the work of the future. Because on one hand, agriculture is spectacular, you know, like people that have been brought out from malnutrition, like those numbers have increased greatly, in particular thanks to the efforts China has made over the last years. We are producing a lot of calories. We have wonderful technologies. We'll hear about drones in a second. We've heard about geosystems just now from Eva. So things are like spectacular on one hand, but at the same time, even though we are producing a lot of calories, a lot of those calories that are being produced are empty calories. A lot of the calories that I can easily buy, meaning they are accessible from financial point of view, are once again empty calories, and it's more difficult to buy healthy calories if I am in a certain group of people, or if I am in a certain geography. And regardless of that, a lot of the calories we are producing are contributing negatively to the environment, right? Either through greenhouse gas emissions, or degradation of natural habitats, or both, or many other reasons. And if that is not enough, 1/3 of the calories we are producing is being wasted, right? We are producing that and we are just wasting it, either throwing that away at the point of consumption, or it's being wasted along the value chain. And then you have the divide between the developing world, even though I hate this phrase, but like, you know, you have a developing world in which calories are wasted in the value chain, and very few calories are being wasted at the point of consumption. And the so-called developed world, in which most of the calories are wasted at the point of consumption, and relatively few are wasted within the value chain and processing. So that's where we are. if that is not enough, most of the calories we grow globally are grown by smallholder farmers, and those smallholder farmers are mainly women, and majority of hungry people in the world are actually farmers. The very people who are growing food are going hungry, which is like, you know, maybe a new insight to you or maybe not, but like regardless of whether that's new or not, it is simply crazy. So that's where we are, and I could be going on and on and on by talking about agricultural subsidies and the way phytosanitary rules are being used to protect certain markets, i.e. the farmers in certain markets from, you know, imports from other countries, which could be beneficial for farmers down there. But I will stop here because like we kind of know where we are, and I'm sure all of you can, like, after thinking a little bit and reflecting on those things, like you can be like, yeah, I totally see that or some other injustice playing in my life that I am either contributing to, very important, or being affected by, right? Because like, just like all of us are part of the solution, some of us or some of our actions, not us the people, but like our actions, the way we eat, we clothe, we buy, we do stuff, does have an impact, and sometimes that impact can be negative, especially when it's compounded with impact of many other people. So that's where we are. And finally, moving to point number 4, which is where we could be going. I don't want to be saying where we should be going, because that's not my role. You are, whoever you are, either listening to it right now or listening to that in the future, you are the one to say, hey, I think we should be going there or somewhere else. I can only say where I think from my limited perspective we should be going. And where we should be going is regenerative agriculture in the following framework. High-level perspective goal is very simple, and it's net zero by 2050. All right, so we want to, as a country, as a globe, and individual countries included, we want to get to net zero by 2050. What that means, we want our level of emissions that we are emitting to the atmosphere, and the level of drawdowns, the emissions that we are drawing down from the atmosphere and storing somewhere, for example, in agricultural soil, to be equal. My hunch is that when we get closer to 2050, that will not be a goal only, and the goal will expand to actually be drawing down emissions that we as humanity have emitted since the start of Industrial Revolution till now, so that with that action we can have an impact on climate, meaning mitigating and adapting to climate change. But we are in this net zero framework. That framework is expanded and elaborated by Sustainable Development Goals, which are 17. And to me, like talking about global dimension, because we are at the UN level, United Nations level all this time, net zero is amazing, and we totally should be not only aiming, but like working towards net zero, because that's where we have to get. But net zero in itself is not enough. There are very many different pathways of getting to net zero. And not all of those pathways are the pathways I would like to be living in and living through. That's why I mean the United Nations, with the global process that went behind that, come up and agreed and stand behind Sustainable Development Goals, because we do want to transitioning and be getting there, i.e. towards net zero, in a way which is just equitable, and we want to live through it as we go along. It's not this one mythical day that we'll get and we will all be happy, but it's about getting there and going beyond as well, and it's about prosperity. So net zero by 2050 and SDGs are like the thinking framework on where I think we should be going, and I argue publicly we can be going, right? And whether we should be going there is for you to decide. I would also add to this thinking framework about where we could be going, where we should be going, a planetary boundaries concept, which like you can look up. You can also look up donut economics, same concept basically, but there are different cycles of nature and cycles that we are part of, and some of those cycles we are exceeding, meaning we are benefiting from ecosystem services more than what is sustainable for those ecosystems to continue going, so that they can provide for the future generations without limiting their opportunities. An example of that cycle may be nitrogen and phosphorus cycle. Where we are with climate change, global warming, is that we are in the zone of uncertainty, which is getting slower and like lower and lower every day, meaning we know our actions have impact on climate, and this impact is rather big and rather worse than what we've been thinking, you know, yesterday or 2 days ago. I would also finally add spiritual dimension into this mix of where we should be going, and like you are to decide whether that's the, you know, that's the way to go or not. Like the call is yours, but I will simply say, you know, look up Laudato Si or Fratelli Tutti of Pope Francis, and the economy of Francesco, which once again is one of the platforms I am heavily involved in, that is adding this spiritual dimension to this mix, because it's really, and I will be precisely going there with the final part of the presentation, it's really not all about work, and it's really not that much about work. It's not about work, it's about livelihoods and life that we want to live, which work is part of. And it's not, or it shouldn't be, from my perspective, about putting the work in the center. It's about putting us, the human being, and the environment at the center. Maybe environment, nature more than us, because we are in the center for very long, and we can see the consequences of that. And talking about like resources to look up and get familiar with, I would also mention Dasgupta review, which is a state of biodiversity globally, published earlier this year by Professor Serdar Dasgupta, which, well, is a fascinating read, kind of speaking to this, where are we right now, and very importantly, what we could be doing about it from nature's point of view. And as a spoiler announcement, like at 4 p.m. At Economy of Francesco School, at 4 p.m. Central Eastern European time today, there's a meeting with Professor Dasgupta. So if you want to tune in to that, you are all warmly invited. Which brings me to two final points in terms of where do we want to go, and then some final reflections on the future of work. Talking about agriculture specifically, the thinking framework from my perspective about agriculture going forward is regenerative agriculture or nature positive agriculture, same thing, same concept, which is composed of two major levers. Lever number one is restoration, and lever number two is regeneration. Restoration is what I, as a farmer or land steward, I am actively doing or I stop doing in order to work or be in line with the cycles of nature. Cycles of nature are many. Some of the key ones to introduce are the carbon cycle, water cycle, energy cycle, biodiversity cycle. Whether you know it or not, whether you like it or not, those cycles are there. And whether you like it or not, every farmer, every land manager is a carbon farmer, is a energy farmer, is a water farmer. The question is whether you are a good carbon farmer or water farmer or energy farmer or not, which is the measurement piece that Eva spoke about, and I'm sure Femi will be speaking about as well. So when you do the restoration bit right, then something much greater than me or any one of us kicks in, which is the nature. If you are not fighting with it, the cycles of nature are being regenerated. by nature. And from my perspective, the job of the farmer is to understand those cycles of nature, work at least, and that's really the bare minimum, work at least in a way which is not going against those cycles, and ideally work in a way which is going in line with those cycles, so that you are enhancing it. And then there are 5 levers on this first dimension of regenerative agriculture, which is restoration. Those levers, if we are talking about existing farm, are the following: optimization of inputs, seeds, chemicals, fertilizers. And I'm saying optimization for a reason, because very often it's not about lowering input use. Sometimes it's about increasing something like lime application so that you have pH right. So optimization of inputs is lever number 1. Lever number 2 is minimizing of soil tillage with limiting plowing, or like stopping plowing altogether. Plowing is a practice of turning soil 180 degrees around. Point number 3, or lever number 3 is, or principle number 3 is keeping soil cover 365 days a year, ideally with a living root, or for as long as the conditions in that specific geography allow. Point number 4 is biodiversity, in-field biodiversity, around-field biodiversity, on-farm and wider landscape biodiversity. And point number 5 is a site-specific design. So designing the farm in line with the natural landscape and cycles of nature that are there. Which I would turn that order around if I would be speaking with a farmer that wants to set up a new farm that is not existent. Then I would start with site-specific design and start well from the very beginning, rather than be picking low-hanging fruit, which is what you do when you are having existing farm, in order to basically generate some extra cash by cutting your costs and then reinvesting that in more capital-intensive changes, which are those latter one practices. So this is the framework which brings me to the final point, reflecting on the future of work and the work of the future in agricultural space, using all of what we've said as kind of our building blocks. And once again, what I hope for in terms of the future of work, and that question is that future, and then I'm not saying we should do that, right? But like, I'm just volunteering my insights on this topic. The future of work should be knowledge intensive, but not knowledge intensive in a way which is limited to either a huge company, that is licensing you that knowledge, but knowledge that is more widely available to the farmers, to the decision makers, and then remains a question, which is kind of an action call. How do you get this knowledge to those 80% of farmers who are growing most of the food and are smallholder farmers, most of them women, most of them without secure land tenure, right? It's about how do you change a system as such, and it's about systemic change. It's not about this or that one other solution. It's very much about all those little solutions, like little in quotation, coming together. But the perspective I would like to end with and leave us for the Q&A with is, what is the state of the food systems right now, or particular food system that we are talking about, and where do we want this food system to be in a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years time? And therefore, in that framework, what are the changes that are needed in order to get there? And I'm just volunteer, like, my personal wish is for this future of work to be knowledge intensive, not limited to a small group of people, but like be democratic and accessible, and therefore not necessarily be work, right? Like, be knowledge which you are applying, but you don't have to be like actively doing farming 365 days a year. I don't think there is much fun in having to wake up at 3 a.m. in the morning every day to work your land. Whereas, if you have a well-designed system, like the actual work that the farmer is putting in terms of labor is lower, much lower, but you do have to have the thinking space and the thinking resources, and then possibilities to take action on that in order to design system like that, which is hard if you don't have those resources to start with. So those are some of my thoughts on this topic. I'm grateful for this convening to be organized, and I am, just a participant like all of we are. So looking forward to the Q&A, and thank you for a great presentation, Eva, before me, like really, really insightful. And looking forward to yours, Femi. And looking forward to the discussion, of course, soon after Femi.
Thank you, Mr. Matush. Really appreciate. I got something net zero reduction in emission. Moving on to the next session, our third speaker, Mr. Femi Adekoya, popularly known as Femi Farmer. He is an agricultural professional and plant health scientist by training. He has a strong interest and experience with agricultural innovations and technologies. He had his bachelor's degree in horticulture at the Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta, with a first class honor. He recently concluded a master's degree in integrated pest management at Upper Adams University, Egmont, United Kingdom, through the prestigious Commonwealth Scholarship by the UK government. He is the founder and COO of Agridec Limited, an agricultural value chain and consultancy company involved in extending and training youth and women in climate smart and agricultural technologies, techniques that increase farmers' productivity and resilience. He is also a drone strategist and the head of flight operations at Integrated Area Precision, a drone service provider with a special focus on agriculture, where he provides drone-powered solutions, trainings, and consultancy to individuals and various organizations. Femi is a UK Civil Aviation Authorities certified drone pilot and also a drone data analyst, using UAVs and drone data to help farmers and relevant stakeholders adopt and practice precision agriculture. Join me welcoming Mr. Femi Adekoya. You're welcome, Mr. Femi. Hello, Mr. Femi.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. I'm actually delighted to be here. Before I go forward, let me quickly share my screen if I can.
Okay.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you and to be among the panelists, like the likes of Eva and my previous speaker. Thank you so much. In the light of the theme of this discussion, the future of work and the work of the future in the agricultural space. So I will be dealing with the context of drone technology for effective and productive agricultural operation. So again, I am Femi Adekoya, and I'm also known as Femi Farmer. All right. So I would just like to give a background before I go ahead. And what's the reality gap? Looking at the picture at the right, if it is showing right from your own end, you see a woman, weeding the field and trying to clean up and get rid of weeds with hoes, and another picture is an agro robot developed by the University of Sydney in Australia. And these two pictures is also actually showing the same thing. I mean, the robot is weeding and the woman is also weeding, but this is just showing that there's a reality gap of technology, science and technology bringing up innovation for us. And just to quickly mention that the agro robots will help to manage disease, pests, to take care of pests either through chemical or physical means, or through vacuum removal of insect pests or weeds, identifying weeds. You know, it has been developed and trained through artificial intelligence to identify weeds and pests, and then helping farmers, you know, and then you can be able to, and it runs autonomously, and that's something to note. It runs autonomously, and that's what science and technology has brought to us. Even in the past, within the past century, we can see a difference, a clear difference in what we presently have, the present reality. And that gives us a roadmap of where we are going in the future, talking about the future of works, especially in agriculture. Okay. Now, this is also similar to what I experienced at Upper Adams University during my master's study in the UK. Upper Adams happened to host this this project with some other agencies. And what the Ant-Free Hectare project is all about is as an autonomous operation. I mean, a tractor, you will find a tractor. If you look closely to this tractor, you will not find a driver on the seat. That means it's a project that it's the first of its kind. It's a trailblazer, although there are many of this project now, and I'm very happy that's to show you that there's development. This project is it's the production of wheat from start to finish without you having an agronomist on ground or having a tractor driver sitting on the driving seat of the tractor. So it is an autonomous operation where no human intervention is needed on the field. And that's the picture I took while the autonomous tractor is spraying herbicide on the field. And one thing is that it does this precisely. It doesn't go back, overlap in spraying again and again the place that it has sprayed before. Through real-time real-time kinetics, you know, RTK and other technology. So I just need to mention that as knowing the present reality and also corroborating it, what we're going to have in the future. So now straight to this question: how do you imagine the future of farm to be, or future farm to be? How do you imagine it to be? You know, that's a question I want you to quickly think about. How do you imagine the future farm to be? Now, this is it. Well, this picture is taken from the CGI AR. That's the platform for big data in agriculture, to which I'm one of the delegates, youth in data delegates for 2020. And if you look at this image, you can see featuring drones, featuring farm to cloud, you know, cloud computing, a device, a sensor that can help your animals to speak with you. You know, the sensor, the temperature is high. It can tell you the temperature is high. It can tell you the health of the livestock and the likes. And also, we also have agro robot, like I showed you the other time. You know, peer-to-peer farmers services. We can exchange. We can exchange machineries and the likes, small and portable as they are, and that's one of the advantage that we have in this generation. I'm beginning to see technology becoming smaller and portable. That aids decentralization. Decentralization that it's not necessarily you have a very big farm before you have technologies that will make your field efficient. So very small, compacted technology that are doing mighty things. Okay. This is also similar to in actual projects with FarmBeat. This FarmBeat is a project by Microsoft, Microsoft Azure. Yes, Microsoft Azure. If you see, you would notice that all of these components are interconnected together. I mean, from your sensors to the cloud, from the cloud, then down to getting collecting data. Oh, it's all about data, collecting data, and then processing it with artificial intelligence or machine learning, then sending it to the farmer as an actionable information or recommendation to the farmer to use. And if you notice that all of these things, you would see that taking this component or dividing these components into different sections, you will see that there are works of the future here. Talking about drones, talking about sensors, talking about AI, you know, talking about it to interpretation of this data to for farmers to use and to increase their productivity and efficiency. So this project allows a connected farm. You know, you're going to have a connected farm. I see a future, and I know it is. I see a future where machines will be talking to machines. You know, agro-robot talks to agro-robot. You don't need to go to the farm. They communicate, they share data to themselves, and they can be able to take those actions. Yeah, I'm going to get there even while I talk about drone technology. It is also AI-based, you know, AI-based advisory. Then after all this data has been collected through AI, artificial intelligence, farmers can be able to have actionable data. I mean, so that they can take action and precise and efficient actions or operation. Also, it also promotes traceability, and it also promotes precision farming. Let's go ahead. No, so let me take this back from where I am in Nigeria. This is a colleague, a friend. His name is Matthew, and he has an organization called HiWorks under working under the Institute for International Institute for Tropical Agriculture in Nigeria here in Ibadan. So they developed this technology. It's a web or mobile service for real-time monitoring and control of irrigation activity on the farm or on the field. So you can see that we are moving with technology. This technology allows that you don't necessarily need to be on the farm to control your irrigation. I mean, and you know that agriculture uses about 70% of the water, of the fresh water of the earth. And with this technology, you can be able to reduce, you can be able to control and schedule the irrigation, the water that comes to your crop specifically, and that's precision agriculture. And that's one of the highlights of the work of the future. So as a youth in data delegate, I have this to share with you also by Andy Jarvis. Andy Jarvis is a very enthusiastic man and interesting. He mentioned this, and it is noteworthy. He said the notion of the small older farmer, I mean, in the hand, tilling the land, is living on a borrowed time. That means that it's going away. Yes, it's moving away. And the future farmers will be young agripreneurs with smartphone in one end and controls to a drone in the other. Can you see that's interesting? That's the future that we are talking about here. Talking about a future of agriculture driven by digital technology. All right, so, and I think it is happening presently. All right, so all of this, talking about farm of the future and the likes, it still boils down to precision agriculture. Still boils down to precision agriculture. Am I still on? I'd like to know.
Yeah, no? Clearly, we can hear you.
All right. So all of this still boils down to precision agriculture, or what you call smart farming. So, you know, now we have smartphones, smart this, smart TV, smart. So we're talking about smart farming here. So, and what is precision agriculture, or what is smart farming? It is an approach of farm management that employs the use of specialized equipment, you know, equipment, softwares, information technology, and other devices to ensure that crops, soil, and livestock receives precise amounts of resources to ensure optimal health and productivity. And that's our goal, optimal health and productivity. When your plants are not healthy, you do not expect productivity. So that's what precision agriculture highlights. And I'd like to mention, and that's why I put this in red, the goal of precision agriculture is to, number one, to ensure food security. And most importantly, is to ensure profitability. I'm a farmer, and I farm for people, and agricultural consultant, the primary goal of the farmer is not actually food security to the society, it's first profitability. He wants to be able to make profit from his venture, from his enterprise. So food security is then later in the list of the farmer. So it is until the farmer is able to make profit from his farm and get away from the idea of poverty and live very well, that is when he can be able to do more, produce more, to ensure food security in terms of quality and in terms of quantity to the society. And also another highlight of precision agriculture is sustainable sustainability. Talking about how can we produce without hampering or damaging the present resources, the land resources, the natural resources that we have. How can we preserve them while we still want to feed ourselves in the present, in this present time, and not destroy the future? So that's the highlight. And also environmental protection, conservation, biodiversity, and the likes. So now, talking about drones. So how is drone in all of these things? A drone is a tool used to gather data and deliver solutions. More in another time, I mean, drone is a tool used to collect data and also to deliver solutions. So I classify drones into two in the context of agriculture, and it also can be applied in related field, but I classify it into two as drones, sensor drones and actuation drones. So sensor drones are those, for example, those like what you see there, that's an RGB sensor drone or RGB camera. You can be able to take some data with it. RGB means the in the broad spectrum of lights, red, green, and blue. And that. So it's just invisible. What is visible to you? So that's RGB camera. So and those who deliver solutions, which I call the actuation drones, much more than just using camera sensors, whatever sensors you want to talk about, hyperspectral sensors, multispectral sensors, like Eva mentioned when she was talking about satellite solutions, and these sensors like that, you also can help you deliver solutions. Drones that can help you deliver solutions. I mean, solution in the sense that you're going to see some of the examples I have there in the course of this presentation. Those that can help you deliver pesticide, that can help you deliver, precisely, that can help you do work efficiently, that can help you deliver biological agents, if you're an organic farmer, and many other solutions that can be delivered actually on the farm. Now, why are drones revolutionizing agriculture? Or I can say it in another way. Why are drones becoming important in agriculture, or how are they solving agricultural problems? Number one, they are relatively cheap and relatively cheap to acquire. Compared to existing technology. This is a chopper, that sprays pesticide or whatever you call it, and compared to a drone, as portable as that, compare the cost together, the difference. All right. Why they deliver the same objective. So they are smart and portable also. Like this drone, I have one of it, I take around for my consulting, and I just collect my data and I leave. You don't need to know I have a drone or not with me. So, so the ease of data collection and on-demand data acquisition. And this is where drones beat satellite imagery, in terms of resolution, in terms of time of acquiring, in terms of delay in weather, you don't have too much. You can get your drone and collect data on the field, your plant health data, and various data that you love, the terrain, topography data, and the likes. So you can collect that, and it is relatively easy. Easy to collect, not really too expensive or relatively expensive. I like to move on. So reduce labor intensity, and it's encouraged fast expedition of tasks. Imagining you're on the rice field. These are both rice fields, and you would have to, for you to use a naphtha sprayer, a 16-liter naphtha sprayer, mounted by one person to spray a whole field, let's say 1 hectare. You're going to spend a whole day doing that, a whole working day doing that. But with a drone, you can do that just in minutes. I mean, 1 hectare, you can do that just in minutes, So, and it encourages a fast execution of tasks. Let me quickly move on. A safety reason, that's the advantage. You don't want to apply pesticide or some hazardous crops. You don't need to get exposed to this hazardous chemicals. You can send drones down there and you are good to go. So safety is very, very important, and that's why they're relevant to the future of work. So autonomous system or operation. So you can you can set them to be self-operating because of the embedded systems in them. They can be able to follow the plant flight pattern, you know, and collect data for you, deliver solution particular to a particular geocoordinate and different at different points of the field, you know, where your tractor will be disturbed with mud or trying to get your tractor to the farm. Your drones go up there. There is no mud in the air, and there is no hold up or anything like that in the air. You're done. So, and in respect of energy efficiency and low carbon footprint, and that you're talking about drones, because most of the drones down that have been developed now uses lithium polymer battery, powered by lithium polymer battery, you know, or lipo battery, whatever you call them. And that's low carbon footprint, because number one, they can do your work faster, and number two, you do not need to expel fossil fuel, and they are energy efficient. And for this reason, they are very, very useful in the talk of climate change or climate action. All right. So they are also making agriculture more attractive to the youth. You know, I'm beginning to see one of these clips these days on LinkedIn and even on WhatsApp, where a woman was addressing the FAO around making agriculture attractive to the youth and with presentation. But with drone technologies like drones, you know, they're making agriculture more attractive. Imagine the youth saying this and like, wow, I'd like to get on that. So I don't need to carry a backpack or knapsack sprayer on my back and all the whole day sweating and exposing myself. You know, things like this get youth attracted to agriculture, like you want to call it, or like they say, making agriculture sexy. Okay, so I will just highlight, I know I have to quickly rush out with time, some uses of drones in agriculture. And so this is number one, the land or field mapping. So you can, with drones, you know, you can get your automosaic maps, that's 2D maps. You know, when your satellite imagery is expired, like Google Earth is expired, to show the reality of your present field, you know, with drone data collection and with use of software, you can have automosaic showing you the present reality of your field, you know, and with a very good resolution. You can also have the elevation map, just like the diagram you have beside you. That's a digital terrain model, DTM, and it is collected by me. Just on a farm I went to survey for one of my clients, and this is what we got, and this is showing you the elevation map. You mean, so the blue is showing the lower topography or terrain of the field, and the red or the deep red is showing you the highest point of the field. And what's the use of this? The use of this can be used in irrigation planning, can be used in planning or land development. You know, you want to plan your farm planning or farm layout. You can use this. Oh, be able to say, okay, I have this topography here. We can be able to lay out our irrigation this way. We can be able to put the farm structure here and there. So let me quickly continue. Obama's estimation, and like that, these are the things you can get from data, drone data. Crop health assessment, with one of a company I partner with called Eva Robotics in Nigeria. So we're collecting with multispectral sensors. We can collect. This is for NIFOR. NIFOR is Nigerian Institute for Oil Palm Research. So we're collecting the plant, accessing the plant health of their oil palm farm or plantation. You can be able to see, oh, by the right side, I think the plants there are not really doing well as compared to those falling on the left. or you can even estimate to say 40% of the plants are not as healthy like the others. So you can be able to take actions and assess plant stress, water stress. A lot of stressors are, to plant, water stress, temperature stress, light stress, nutrient stress, nutrient deficiency, like you want to call it, biological stress and the likes. You can use drone data to know this, and you can be able to plunge into action as soon as possible, because data is key and you have to be proactive in expediting the solution. So crop scouting. So I came across, while studying in the UK, studying integrated pest management in the UK, and I fell in love with the idea of drone technology and learning and becoming certified. With this application, it's a mobile application for detecting. It operates your drones autonomously, help you collect data on the field, all right? And it helps you to detect pest hotspots, and it also helps you to identify weeds. You can be able to scout the field within a short period of time. Instead of you walking hundreds of hectares or even tens of hectares, you can be able to do that in a very short time, get this data and be able to take action. So about action. So about crop evaluation. As regards crop evaluation, I worked, talking about data-driven agronomy. I worked with a Ph.D. researcher in Adams University. I worked with him, and he's able to, with drone data, is able to integrate artificial intelligence or machine learning, particularly deep learning, with deep learning algorithm into his research to be able to know, or to be able to estimate the yield of potato or from the stem count. First, he has to find a way to devise a way to get the stem count through the meristem count. And if you look at the images below, you'll be able to see the original image, the UAV image. That's the original image. I mean, that's the drone. And he processed it through contrast stretch, clustering up with some vegetation index. And then he went ahead to box, by boxing it or predicting using deep learning or deep neural network to predict the numbers of meristems. And with this number of meristems, he's able to put it into model to estimate the yield, because it has been established scientifically that the more the stem of your potato, all right, the more the tuber you have. However, it will be smaller. So with this information, the farmer can be able to know or anticipate and also inform his supermarket or the market that I have this quantity and this size, this range of size of potato coming to your store. So, that is very, very interesting, even before you harvest. And you can also apply that. So I'm laying the foundation, and I like to quickly round up. As regards also crop protection, I would not miss this. I need to highlight this as an integrated pest management expert. We're moving from intensive use of chemicals into using nature. Like the previous speaker said, using nature, aligning with nature, using biological agent application just means using natural enemies of your pests, on them. And this is a technology, that's a drone technology that's a DJI drone mounted with I think the DJI M600 or 300 with the biological agent in the box. So it releases them. You can release those biological agents at different intervals on the field and mitigate pest and disease attack. So you can also use it in agricultural insurance. We're talking about, you want to assess the damage, feed damage. You want to assess flooding, climate change. As of last year, we had in Nigeria, we had some parts that did not receive much rain and causing drought or water stress, and also some part of Nigeria receiving much rain than they usually do, causing flood. We can be able to use drones to be able to assess this damage and be able to make for claims, claim authentication or government coming in to ameliorate the situation. Now, this farm facility inspection of management. So this is me with some big farmers. So on the farm, we were able to collect, which greenhouse is torn, the cover is torn, and the like. We're able to assess that. And the farm manager or farm management can be able to have the data to be able to say, we are planning to do house 1, house 2 specifically and know the budget to put for this work. So I need to mention, I also need to mention some challenges of growing the drone industry in Africa, relating to agriculture. Number one, high cost of entry into the industry. It's still relatively expensive. Yes, so the high cost of entry, high cost of setting up, buying a sprayer drone could also be expensive to a young agripreneur. The least you could have, you could get as low as 5,000, and you could get as high as 20,000 pounds or US dollar sprayer drone and the likes, and these are the technologies that we need. Another challenge is regulation. Yes, the regulations are not updated to the present reality, but things are changing everywhere. The regulations are not harmonized. The regulation in the UK is different from that which you find in Nigeria or some part of Africa. So they have different application, sophistication or complexity to them, hindering the growth of this industry. So drone pilot operators with lack of knowledge on farming and agriculture, that's what we find. Even presently, those who operate these drones and the likes, even in respect to agriculture, most of them do not have background or very sound knowledge of agriculture, and the lack of knowledge on how drones are used in agriculture. So that's one of the challenges we have. So, and people like us coming in with very solid, good background in agriculture, and we using drones as a tool, we can be able to know specifically and creatively use drones, developing a lot of use case, and lack of training on software and hardware. So, however, there is solution, and integrated area precision in my company is also building capacity and of youth, and also educating the youth and even the whole, the government, the various stakeholders about this technology, and building up capacity and raising critical mass of people that can be able to influence regulations and change things as time goes on. And that's what we are into. We're also collaborating with others, like I mentioned before. So these are the job opportunities and decent for, as that SDG goal 8. So these are professions that you can consider. These are future works. Drone design and development, cybersecurity, drone education, geomatics, these are where you can find yourself, data scientist, AI, or machine learning. And I say the best way to predict the future is to create it. Yes, I want you to take that with you. The best way to predict the future is to create it. So thank you for listening. I am Femi Adekoya. Thank you. I would like to have your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Femi. Yeah, I got something. The best way to predict the future is to create it. And I'm quite fascinated by presentation on drone technology. Thank you, Mr. Femi. So moving on to the next section of the Q&A, question and answer session. I think, do you have any question in the Q&A session? Okay. Please, if you have a question, you can drop it in the Q&A box. Okay. I have questions for Mr. Femi. I have questions for Mr. Femi. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So you mentioned the challenges with growing the drone industry in Africa. Lack of knowledge on how drones are used in agriculture. Decentralizing this now to our subsistence farmers, our small older farmers. How can they acquire this knowledge on how to use the drone technology? Do you have any plan? Do you have any plan? I mean, your complaint on training farmers, the subsistence farmers, on how to use the drone technology? or what measures do you feel the government can put in place for this to be achieved?
Okay, like I mentioned, that I am also into capacity building because that's where we need to start from, talking about people with knowledge. Knowledge can be transferred. So we are transferring the knowledge of how to use drones in different contexts in agriculture, collecting data, expediting some operations on the field, you know, that capacity building is very, very essential. And as regards the government, you know, regulation is, you can't do beyond regulation. You know, so the government has to review the regulation as regards. There are some regulations that are not really applied or will hamper or are presently hampering the use of drones in agriculture, because agriculture is another context entirely. You cannot use one size fit all of regulation for mining, also, or those in cargo delivery, also in agriculture. They're not the same. Although the similar thing is a technology called drones, but they're not the same. So we have to find context-specific regulations, and we have to develop that as fast as possible. So that's the way the government can, one of the ways the government can come in. Government can also come in supporting those who are building capacity, like us, making this technology available to farmers and also accessible for smallholder farmers. I think someone is trying to ask the question around how would smallholder farmers that are not financially buoyant to be able to use this technology. Yes, there are ways that they can use technology such as spraying. They cannot buy such an expensive equipment as it is now, because I know that because I need to mention that we're in the drone decade. So I know that things are going to change before 2030. Things are going to change massively in terms of drone technology. Just like your smartphone changed the world. You know, we now have a lot of smartphones. Even in Nigeria, we have a lot of smartphone users compared to some continents, as poor as Africa is. So drones are getting there. Yes, drones are getting there. And so now coming back to how smallholder can use drones, they can come together as a cooperative. Their style of or system of farming can, instead of having scattered operations around, they can come together as cooperative and harness the opportunity of the potential of drones and to collect the data, I mean, for quick expedition of actions and actuation, you know, delivering of solutions, as the case may be. I think that's one of the ways I think smallholders can benefit. They can also come together to buy, you know, they can also come together to employ the service of service providers. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, let me just chip that in. Thank you for that. Sorry for the viewers. We're sorry that Eva is not able to join the Q&A session. She has to join a board meeting at work, which actually she could not just let go. So that's why. So if you have a question that is specific to Eva, just drop it in the Q&A session. I'll just endeavor to get it across to her. And if it's something that the panelists can also answer because they are vast in that area, so I believe they will be able to attend to it. Then I have a question for Matthews before I, okay. All right, so you talked about net zero, you know, just talking about climate and some other things. You know, one of the things I had noticed when I got to Europe is that you know, you talk about the conventional farming now, and you talk about what's the name now? I just want to
regenerative agriculture.
Pardon?
Regenerative agriculture.
Yeah, regenerative agriculture. Now, the idea is it actually costs more to farm in a regenerative way, in a conservative way, without some of this pesticide application and some other things. And most times when you get to the mall, you will notice that the cost of the I want to remember the name of the farm produce now. What we'll call them? They are quite more expensive than the conventional products. For example, if you want to get a banana now, the price of the one that was planted maybe without a pesticide, without some other things that are just organic. Yeah, organic, that's the word. Organic farming, like planted with organic farming, they are really very expensive in the mall. I mean, in the grocery stores and some other places. And most times people don't tend to buy them. So like, where does the balance come in now? Because we are planting, of course, because of those that are experiencing hunger and some other things, people that are not able to feed themselves. And if we are planting, going organic now, and maybe people are not able to afford it, you understand, because of the price in that sense. So how do we balance between the two? And do you think there will come a time where we'd achieve the zero net carbon, or having a farming system that is void of pesticide and some other things that we get to apply on farm? Thank you.
Thank you for this question. It has like multiple questions in there. And before I go into answering it, I can see that Prince Justin Tani, if I am pronouncing his name right, has hand up. So like, I don't know whether he has typed the question in the Q&A box or not, but like, just wanted to flag up that somebody has a hand up.
Yes, I've messaged him.
Okay, good, awesome. Thank you for that. To answer the question, 3 things to say. One, all the questions that were asked in the question are connected, right? Like the conversation about net zero and regenerative agriculture and organic agriculture and many other topics, they are connected. But at the same time, those are different concepts, right? Regenerative agriculture may or may not be organic. If you are using synthetic inputs, like it's not organic, it's not certified organic, therefore it's not organic. So I wanted to like make this disclaimer that like A, all those things are connected, and that's very important to keep in mind. But B, those are still different concepts, and it's critical to keep those different concepts in mind. So regenerative agriculture can be organic, but it doesn't have to be, especially at the beginning. Regenerative agriculture done well leads to organic production, but like regenerative doesn't have to be organic straight away. And very often when you are transitioning your existing farm into some new model, it won't be organic since the very beginning. And then point number 2, which speaks to some of the questions that were raised on the chat with like, how do you make smallholder farmers be able to afford all those drone technologies and so on? And like broader point to your question, how do we make that work? How do we make that work? That's the point. Like we can make models and pathways in which it costs more to transition, and it's hard. You have to subsidize it. You have to battle the economics and so on. Or you can be doing that in a way which is creating savings at the beginning, which then you are reinvesting. Which is the model I've been talking about with like optimization of inputs as step number 1. And the truth of the story is, you know, if we had enough, not only good ideas, but like enough implementation of those, we would not have the problems that we are facing, right? Like the very question that is asked in the chat, how do you make that accessible to smallholder farmers, is at the root of the problem why this is not happening right now, because like maybe no one in certain geographies, or like very few people in those geographies have been thinking about that question and giving it a try. I mean, a lot were thinking, but like a lot of the models I'm seeing are really not putting the farmer in the center and not answering the the financial flows question. They are answering the question, how do we subsidize it? How do we make it work for a while? And there's very little conversation about sustainability, starting with financial sustainability first, right? Like, we cannot forget in this conversation that financial sustainability and environmental sustainability in agriculture go hand in hand. You can have one without the other for a while, but like, you cannot have those for a long time, which is why there's such a big problem with the food system right now, because we are not measuring financially the externalities we are having, and we think our model works, whereas in reality it doesn't, which is like, you know, a pretty sad thing to say at the end of a conversation like that. But like, here is I think the call to action, right? And once again, coming back to the food for thought challenge is live and open, and we as Food for Thought want to hear from you with the solutions to tackle that, or like any other problem in the food system that you are seeing. And like, I wish to be coming into today saying, those are the problems, this is my solution, done, thank you guys. Like, you know, that's the job application website of my company. But this is not what I can say. Like, I have a little bit of a solution, and maybe like more insights on what's not working. And hopefully, like, you are coming here and beyond here with the same mindset, right? We know something, we want to be doing something in that space, and we know a lot of things that are not working. Let's pull it together, and with the support of organizations like the Food for Thought, take that to the next level. So that would be my answer to that question.
Thank you very much. I know that we have limited time now left. Now we have about 9 minutes left, because there's going to be a meeting immediately after this. There's going to be another webinar after this. So that means we'd have to run very fast. There are some questions that have been asked now. I think Wale, you just read them. So if Femi could attend to it, or Matthews, okay, any of them could just answer the question.
So, Mr. Matthews, how can we certify organic products when we do not own standard laboratories that are accepted by Europeans? How are we sure that results from those laboratories are not corrupted when we have limited knowledge? Okay, that's from Prince. So, Mr. Matthews, I think that question is directed to you.
Yes, thank you for this question, Prince. And my simple answer is, if you don't know the standard, you cannot certify in that standard, right? Like, it comes back to this knowledge bit of like, do your homework, know what the standard is. And then if that makes sense for you, because like A, you get a higher price with that certification, or maybe B, you can access a market only if you have that certification, then you follow the process, right? And if there are money to be made, I can assure you there will be certifying organizations that will be willing to guide you through the process of that certification. On the flip side, which is a very good like business practice that I've learned over the years and learned it hard way, is, you know, if you have a story about, hey, like, I want to be doing business with you, right? I want to be trading something, and let's send it to whatever the country is, right? And if that person who wants to do business with you says, yeah, only like you have to figure out on your own, then don't do business with that person, right? And if that person says something of the opposite structure, which is like, hey, I want to be doing business with you, we want to be importing those grapes into Spain, whatever, or grapes into Germany rather, and you need to fill in this set of documents, and then we are in, like, you can export. That's your partner, you found your partner, right? So like, basically check and validate as quickly as you can, because it will save you time and money. And like, as I'm saying, I've learned that lesson the hard way. Yeah, and another question, which is really, I mean, it's not answering the question at all, but like, should you be exporting? right? I mean, if the framing of the question is, say, Nigeria, which I know fairly well, and your food system or Nigerian food system, like, yes, you can build a very successful business in exporting out of Nigeria, but is that really what this country and this food system needs? I don't think so. Big time, I don't think so. That's why, you know, coming back to the framework I've been sharing with you at the beginning, yeah, it's more than just a numbers, right? But you have to make the numbers work for everyone included in that value chain. And if you don't want to make the numbers work for everyone in the value chain, make them work for only one player in that value chain, which is a farmer, or who is a farmer, who's, you know, the player right now that very, like, the most often the numbers are not right for him or her. And in Nigerian context, that's her more than he. Yes, let me stop here.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. There's another question here. How can I get training on, okay, this should be to Mr. Femi. How can I get training on drone aviation in Cameroon? Okay, Cameroon. Mr. Femi.
Yeah. Okay, the person is asking, how can he or she get training as regards drone technology?
He's in Cameroon, so he's trying to get. He's in Cameroon currently, so he's trying to know how can he get a training in Cameroon.
Okay, in Cameroon. Well, I do not know the regulatory process to get you trained or certified, or opportunities available in Cameroon, but I can highlight some, identify those who are in the industry, and you can learn from them, either through internship or paid training. You could also be prepping yourself. I mean, no knowledge is wasted. Even either knowledge you get from YouTube, awareness, readings, and the likes could also help you till you meet opportunities that get pragmatic opportunities. I mean, opportunities that can aid you, but you can just find out as regards training. And there are a lot of trainings as regards drone technology. So depending on what you're trying to talk about, you do not necessarily need to pilot a drone to be a drone professional. You can analyze drone data. You can get yourself trained on geospatial data analysis and to help farmers. You can do a whole lot of trainings, industry-specific trainings as regards drone technology. So there are a lot of it and a lot of ratings also. So you have the responsibility to find out that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Femi.
I think there's a question in the Q&A session. I think either of the two can answer. Lanara is asking, how can precision livestock farming decrease the environmental impact of animal production? Of course, we know that animal production actually generates a lot of negative environmental impact. So she is asking now that how can precision livestock farming, how can it decrease this environmental impact? I think either of the two could just answer.
I'm happy to start first. Two things of the answer. By a lot, meaning like if you follow knowledge and insights, you can really get great results if we are talking about sequestration rates for carbon. And two parts of my answer, or maybe three. One, talking about livestock emissions, you should divide those into two, like the emissions, methane that is coming out, and like the ways of decreasing that by right feeding, right living conditions for those animals. And here we are talking about reducing emissions. And then point number two is the management of your livestock. So how do you manage livestock? And here you can actually achieve negative emissions. What I mean by that, if you graze your livestock and regenerate land, like this land is capturing carbon which otherwise would not be there, so therefore you are having net negative effect on the amount of carbon that is in the atmosphere, which you could potentially be monetizing through a financial mechanism called carbon credits. I will, before I leave, I will send 2 links in a chat to Savory Institute and to a TED Talk by the founder of the Savory Institute, which talk more about this very concept that I'm mentioning. And right after that, I will leave because my next meeting starts now. But I'm grateful for this opportunity. Pleasure to meet you, Femi. Thank you to the organizers. Please apply for the Food for Thought Challenge, and see you speak soon whenever you want. I'm here for you if I can be of any help. I'm sending the 2 links into the chat, and I'm leaving right after that. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, I think Femi might have something to say about that too, so that we can just round it up. We can't hear you currently.
Okay, I'm muted. All right. I'd like to just round up at this. Like I said before, the best way to predict the future is to create it. So we talked about the future of works. All that I've said, all that we have said as speakers is in the context of that. So you should be able to identify what's the trend of the future and how can you be positioned to harness and to remain relevant in the future of work. See, AI there's no need to panic about AI taking over. No, AI is creating another job. So no technology does not take job from people. It takes activity from people. So you will learn to harness technology. You will learn to know, fill yourself with the knowledge that will help you with the future. So that's what I would say. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We really appreciate. I want to appreciate all the speakers. Wow, it's such an explosive session, and I believe everyone, they would go with that might and just impact the world of agriculture. Of course, they might still want to reach out to you to give them the vibe and the strength to go all the way. So I sent your LinkedIn profiles to them. So I hope they would be able to reach out as time goes on. So I appreciate everyone for participating in this webinar. We look forward to organizing more of this. TFF, Thoughts for Food, it's such a unique organization. You can join the challenge and you have a chance of getting various prizes just for your startup, because it's an incubation center. You incubate your ideas, incubate what you have in you, and prepare you for what the industry demands. So you could register for the challenge. It's going to be in some weeks' time, and you have a chance of winning different prizes, $10,000 maybe for the runner-up and $5,000 as that. And there are categories of prizes for other things as well. So if you have an idea, you could register and just go all the way, and don't just allow the idea die up like that. So I appreciate everyone. Thank you so much, Mr. Wale, for helping us to convey the meeting today. And thanks to all the attendees. So we've come to the end of the meeting, and thank you so much, everyone.